morning, my brothers and sisters. Allow me to take this opportunity to once again wish you a very happy and prosperous new year. As you know, this press conference marks the anniversary of the third year of my first term as the elected president of our beloved country, Ghana. Traditionally, one will expect that I will start with a speech containing a list of what in effect are the programs my administration has undertaken or will complete in due course. Following that speech, then usually your questions will come. This year I'd like to try something different. The media, in addition to its various other roles and responsibilities, also quite often serves as a messenger of the people, bringing to light many issues that are of relevance and immediate concern to the Ghanaian public. So this year, rather than having the media respond directly and solely to a speech that I've given with their questions, I would like to begin by hearing and addressing the issues that the public deem critical at this time. And so let's place those concerns and issues front and center through an open and free-flowing question and answer session with the media. And let's allow those issues that most concern the good people of Ghana to set the agenda and form the core of this interaction we're going to have. Once we're done, I'll offer a brief few words by way of a conclusion. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm ready whenever you are.
Good morning, Mr. President. My name is Amitabi Walali Sims from Ghana Palava. Armed robbery cases appear to be on the rise in recent times, although there have been an impressive retooling of the security agencies in crime combating. Mr. President, what can we say to be responsible for that? And Mr. President, what do you say about the recent heroic attempt by that taxi driver to stop those armed robbers who are running away when they attack a lady? Since it appears today, patriotism seems to be missing in our vocabulary. Thank you.
I'm Kwame Asaribodu from Daily Graphic. I want to touch on the raging issue of the two Guantanamo Bay ex-prisoners who are now in this country. Mr. President, there is this allegation that there were some monetary considerations and that you have something to hide. I want you to touch on that, and then we brief us on the reasons behind Ghana's decision to accept these two people. Thank you.
Mr. President, my name is Kobe Gomez-Mens. I work for Star FM, part of the EIB network. I'm asking you to tell us exactly how many young people have been registered as unemployed in the various categories. I remember that in your 2003 State of the Nation address to Parliament, you indicated that you're going to instruct the Labor and Employment Minister to work with the statistical service so that there can be accuracy in planning and ensuring that people are employed. And given that some graduates from teacher training and nursing training colleges were around here yesterday and have been arrested, it's important that we know. I'm grateful.
Happy New Year, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
My name is Cecil Niobodai Wintum. I work with Unique FM, GBC. I'm here to speak for a vulnerable constituency in this country, and they represent the growing population of the aged. And I am interested in their welfare because I know your ministry, the gender ministry, has done a lot of work in that direction. It looks like there's little or no information with regards to what is being done in terms of putting in adequate resources to address issues regarding their health and their happiness. And I know you're putting up a lot of hospitals across the country. What efforts are you doing to add to these hospitals some geriatric centers to address special needs of their growing population? And I know the speed with which you are growing your gray, that very soon, or in no time, you would also join that group of people. So what?
Okay, thank you very much. We'll take the first four questions, and I think the first one is on safety and security. Indeed, if you consider the various sectors, the security sector is one of the areas in which government has made very massive investment. At the time we came into office, the police service had many challenges in terms of mobility, in terms of availability of transport to be able to respond to crime situations, in terms of the tools for crime control and other necessary equipment for them to do their job. And so one of the major things we did was to start a retooling, not only of the Ghana Armed Forces, but also of the police service and the other security institutions. And then also to begin a recruitment drive that will increase the numbers of police personnel in order that they are able to check crime. The result of that is a reduction in the crime rate. If you take a look at the statistics, between 2013 and 2014, there had been a reduction in crime by 5,000 incidents, and we're seeing a consistent reduction in terms of crime. You can see the dexterity with which our police service is carrying out its duties these days. Recently, even before we had gotten a direct request from the United Kingdom about somebody who was suspected to have been involved in murder, our police service, was already on the roll and managed to nab him on time, and he's awaiting extradition to the US. These are some of the things that our police are doing. In Kumasi, they made a major bust of an arms trafficker, and saw very sophisticated weapons. They have mounted very serious operations against armed robbery and have been able to deal with a lot of armed robbery gangs. And so we have done a lot to improve the safety of this country. One of the things I say we did was to increase the number of police personnel, and we increased that number in 2012 from 23,000 police officers to 32,000 as we speak currently. That's a significant increase. The UN ratio for police to a population is 1 policeman to 500 people. In 2012, we had 1 policeman to 1,110 people. Today, as I speak, we have 1 policeman to 740 people. And so it brings us closer to the UN benchmark. And then with the innovations that the police themselves have put in place, with visibility policing, with community policing, these innovations are also helping very much in terms of crime control. And so safety is a concern of government, and the government continues to do what is necessary to ensure that the police and the other security agencies are able to do their jobs. Now, with regards to the taxi driver, I believe that in every country, people who show bravery or go beyond their comfort zones to show courage as a national or selfless duty need to be awarded and rewarded. And it's done in every country. Where somebody has shown a mark of courage, endangered himself in order to save somebody or to rescue a situation, often the person is awarded. And it is rare these days for people to come out of their comfort zones and attempt to do what this taxi driver did. I mean, normally people will walk passively and not want to get involved if something was happening, just in case you get shot, especially considering that these robbers were holding a pistol and had already shot 1 person. And so for him to go after them and use his car to ram the motorcycle down, I mean, if they were not injured, they could have just got up and walked up to him and shot him dead. And so this is an act of bravery that needs to be recognized. And I'm happy that the Vice President received this taxi driver yesterday. And I commended him for a show of bravery, and I directed as President that he be allocated one of the apartments at the affordable housing estate, a 3-bedroom apartment, as a mark of gratitude of this country to him. I'm also informed that Kuala, which is a commercial company operating in Ghana, have offered to present him a vehicle, and so we're grateful to Kuala for doing that. The police have also offered to repair the vehicle that was damaged as a result of the action that he took. With regards to Guantanamo, I'm happy you asked this question. There is no monetary consideration, and the US itself would have disclosed if there was any monetary consideration. And so what you're seeing in social media, that I collected 300 million to accept these detainees, is absolutely absolutely untrue. The detainees question was a direct request from the United States of America to my government. We have been allies with the United States for a very long time. It didn't start today. We have partnered in a lot of things, and we continue to collaborate in areas of security, in areas of training with our armed forces, in areas of defense. And so when we received a request like this, we said we will appraise it, and based on the appraisal, we will take a decision. Extensive consultation was held both internally and externally. A risk assessment was done by the US itself, and these two detainees, Al-Dubi and Benatef, were considered to be the most compliant detainees in Guantanamo camp. And they were put in the lowest risk category in Guantanamo. And let me be clear, people say ex-convicts. They were never tried, they were never charged, they were never convicted. These were 20-year-old boys. At the time they were picked up, they were 20 years old. And I can imagine my own son, who is 20 years old, and the state at which he is. They were picked up, they were taken to Guantanamo, they were interrogated, and investigated, and there was no evidence with which they could be tried or charged. And so 6 years ago, it was the American government decided that they should be released. And so Ghana is not the only country that is an ally of the United States and has accepted these detainees. Indeed, Guantanamo has been a blot on the human rights record of the world, that people are taken and kept for so long, they are not tried, they are not charged, and yet they were detained for as long as 14 years. And President Obama came into office with a promise that he was going to shut that camp because of the human rights issues. All of us condemned Guantanamo as a result of the infringement on people's human rights. And so when America asked, we decided that we will do an assessment. We did that assessment. America itself did assessment and gave us their risk category. It was the lowest risk category. It was also established that they had played no operational role in Afghanistan. Our own national security visited the camp several times and conducted extensive assessments and interviews of these detainees. And indeed, it's not the first time, like I said, that ourselves and America are cooperating. In 2003, America approached us as an ally and asked us to sign a non-surrender treaty with them. And we signed because of the relationship that we have with America. And that treaty said that if any American serviceman was found in our jurisdiction who was accused of genocide, we shall not hand that serviceman to the International Criminal Court. We shall hand the serviceman to the United States because they have the capacity to be able to bring that person to justice. And we approved that agreement and signed it because of the relationships that we have with America. As Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the safety and security of this country is of the greatest concern to me, probably than any Ghanaian. I will not take any decision that would jeopardize the safety and security of this country, because it's my duty to ensure that this country is safe. And so we took this decision after a lot of assessment and consultation. And the point about terrorism is, what you should fear is what you don't know, not what you know. Indeed, any Ghanaian is more in danger of dying from, say, a road accident than from these Guantanamo detainees, because they are with our security services, they are monitored 24/7, they are under surveillance. From their own interviews that we've done, they just want to pick up the pieces of their lives and live normally. And so we don't have anything to fear from them. In any case, the alliance that we have assists us because we are members of ECOWAS. We've adopted a visa-free entry into each other's countries. And so it means that anybody in the ECOWAS region can come into Ghana without requiring a visa. And so if we say even Boko Haram is being fought in Nigeria, it means any person who probably is associated with it can just take a car and travel into our country without requiring a visa. And so in a circumstance like that, what you need is advanced information about who are coming into your country, who probably may be persons you should be interested in because of their links to terrorism. Now, the countries that have the largest database of persons perceived to be terrorists are the United States first, and then UK and France and other European countries. And so this collaboration with the United States makes us even safer because we can get advanced information about who is coming into our country and who we should be watchful of. And already that has worked. We have gotten vital information from the United States of America, for which we have some names that if they were coming into this country, we would have to stop them and question them, for which there are people of special interest that we currently are looking at and making sure that they are not up to something in our country. And so that relationship is very useful to us, and we must continue to look at it. Under our humanitarian foreign policy, we have been a safe haven for a lot of people who have been displaced or are homeless or have nowhere to go. In many years, we've had refugee camps in this country. Many people have come in. After the last Côte d'Ivoire civil war, a lot of even combatants who fought in the civil war came into our country. And yet, we were able to accept them. Our security services made sure that these were not people who could, affect us in any way. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are several countries in the world, like Ghana, that have accepted, some detainees. And some of these countries are just like us. Uganda has accepted the detainees. Cape Verde has taken in some detainees. Uruguay has taken in some detainees. And even advanced countries, France, Italy, Britain, Canada, Maldives, Denmark, Estonia, several of them have taken in these detainees. And I do not think that we should feel ashamed to have done it. But we must also look at the side of compassion. I'm a Christian, and in the Bible it teaches us to be compassionate to prisoners. That is, even persons who have been convicted. These people were not convicted. And so where is our Christian passion? Or where is our faith-based compassion on people that after being detained for 14 years without trial, we can't find it in our hearts, to give these people at least a chance to restart their lives. And so there's been no consideration received for accepting these detainees. And as the Commander-in-Chief of Ghana Armed Forces, I have assessed the risk. Our National Security Council briefed me. We have had several sessions with the Americans. People went to Guantanamo and personally interviewed these people. And I believe that our security is not endangered because they are in our country. What we should fear is not them because we have them under surveillance. What we should fear is somebody who can come in and create havoc that we do not yet know. And so our collaboration with the United States of America, the UK and France helps us to be able to protect our safety and security by being able to access the database of persons who are suspected and perceived to be terrorists. Aside from that, we're receiving training for our special forces so that in case situations like that occur, our forces are in a position to respond. And so there's a beneficial relationship, and I believe that we should calm the hysteria and the phobia, and Ghana would continue to receive God's favor and be a safe place. You asked about young people and employment and gathering statistics. The Ghana Statistical Services has been working with the World Bank to acquire the capacity to be able to track our unemployment statistics. Currently, we don't have any statistics on unemployment. And so the training is going on, the equipment and others are being worked on so that in the near future, our statistical services can tell us what the level of unemployment is. In most countries, they can tell you it stands at 5%, or it stands at 10%, or it's increasing, or it's going down. Currently, we don't have the capacity, but that capacity is being built. With regards to teacher trainees, the Ministry of and nursing trainees, the Ministry of Finance gives financial clearance every year for teacher trainees to be absorbed into the service. And what we have tried to do is to ensure that all teacher trainees who are coming out of colleges of education are able to be employed immediately. It's one of the few areas where you get automatic employment. For other courses of training, you do not get automatic employment. It should be the same with the nurses. Now, as a result of the removal of the quota system, we have more teachers able to go into the colleges of education to be able to train. And when they have completed, they fill out the forms to join the Ghana Education Service. The system has been a bit cumbersome in respect of the fact that by the time they are posted and their details are collected at the district level, brought to the regional level, processed at the GES headquarters, and then sent to Ministry of Finance and to the Accountant General, often time has passed. And so they would have started working because they were posted, but would not have received their salaries. And that has been the main issue with most of the teacher trainees. And so a system is being worked out where their data can be captured at the time that they are posted, so that they are allowed to provisionally be put on the payroll while the actual process of collecting the data is carried out. And so that system is being put in place. So I believe that in the near future, this issue of people having worked for so many months without having been paid would be a thing of the past. With the issue of the nursing trainees, we have two categories of nursing trainees. We have those in public nursing and midwife training institutions. And then we have people who have set up private nursing and midwife training institutions. Now, the thinking behind it is that those in the public nursing and midwife training institutions normally sign a bond, and so they should be given priority in terms of employment. And if they are employed and there's still vacancy, then you can take those from the private training institutions, so that the rest of those from the private training institutions can service the private sector, because they are private hospitals, they are private clinics, and all that. But I can understand now that it is more attractive to go into the public sector, because with the enhancement of the single spine and wages, public sector nurses earn quite appreciably high than nurses who work in the private sector. So now all the private sector private institution trained nurses also want to come into the public sector. For some time, there has been some error in the human resource department of the Ministry of Health, where some priority has been given to privately trained nurses at the expense of publicly trained nurses. And that is what has created some of the problem we have. So nurses that we have bonded and trained with public money have not been able to be employed, while priority was given to those who were trained in private institutions. And that is why from time to time you see some of our publicly trained nurses come and picket my office. And so strict instructions have been given that those who train in public institutions must be given the first order of priority. And I think that the Ministry of Health has made some changes in the Human Resource Department. And so once we're able to absorb this last batch of them, I think that this issue of them coming to picket my office will be a thing of the past. All of us are growing old, and he pointed to my gray hair. I guess that the responsibility I carry is fast-tracking the growth of the grays. But certainly we are advancing in age. And so care for the aged is a very important responsibility. And that is why I have charged my Minister of Gender to ensure that she focuses on allowing our old people to grow in dignity. And so a national aging policy has been drawn up. I think it's either in Parliament or it's going to be passed. And that policy would regulate and guide, how we treat the elderly and how government interfaces with the elderly going forward. But one of the two things that has been done is that the ministry is targeting destitute old people who have been neglected and abandoned by family, and trying to assist them so so that they're able to live a life of dignity. And so one of the target groups of the livelihood empowerment against poverty is old people who are destitute and abandoned. And what we're doing is bringing them onto the LEAP program and then giving them a cash transfer monthly so that they're able to look after themselves. And so that's one of the things we're doing. You've also heard about the bank card, which is a card that the Ministry of Gender has come out with. They so far registered 10,000, and they're going to continue to register more aged people. And they get this card, and this card is supposed to give them priority service in anything that they do. So if they go to the hospital and they produce the card, they are supposed to be given priority of place to receive treatment before we, the younger people and more, physically agile people. If they go to the bank, we don't expect that they'll stand in queue with us. If they show their bank card, they are supposed to be allowed to come to the counter and cash their money and be on their way, while we, the younger, more physically agile people, can afford to stand and wait in queue. And so I think these are little services that we're giving, to the aged. One of the things we need to do is to train more geriatric healthcare personnel. That is health personnel who are specialized in looking after aged people. And that is one of the things that the Gender Ministry and the Ministry of Health is looking at, so that we can get more doctors. There are not many doctors who are specialized in ailments of the aged. And so we need more specialization in that level, including nurses who are able to look after aged people. And so that's something that we'll continue to prioritize. Thank you.